Welcome to the Authentic Self Revolution. I'm Carly, your guide on this journey to genuine living and the real wealth of freedom and fulfillment. In a world that just loves to tell us who we should be, we're here to remember who we truly are. We're here for the questioners, the misfits, and anyone who's ever felt like there must be more to life than following the script. Together, we'll explore what it means to revolutionize your life by living it on your terms. Each week, we peel back the layers of shoulds and musts and dive into practical ways to live more authentically. If you're listening only and want to see my face, you can head over to my YouTube channel, Owning Authenticity, where you'll find this podcast, along with a treasure trove of other content aimed at uncovering who you truly are. Your authentic self is waiting. So let's dive in. In today's episode, we are continuing on in this journey of authenticity by going into 3 specific ways that you can tune into your inner voice of truth. All right, so this episode is possibly a game changer when it comes to externalizing your authenticity with other people. Remember, there are kind of like 2 different domains of authenticity. There's inside yourself, knowing who your authentic self is and accepting that person inside of yourself. And then there's expressing that person and allowing that version of you to have a voice and to take the mic and say some things and set some boundaries and reveal some truths and all the things where our vulnerability is going to like really spike up. But this episode is kind of that bridge between the 2 and between that inner knowing of authenticity and that outer expression of authenticity. So I haven't really gone into that a whole lot yet of like painting that picture that there's a big difference between knowing who you are and expressing who you are. And to really paint that picture, I can go back to 2021, where I set my yearly mantra, kind of very vaguely like a New Year's resolution. I do happen to set it at the beginning of the calendar year, but very much unlike a New Year's resolution, I set a mantra that like as I do my daily journaling practice, I write the date at the top of the page and then I write, in this case, 2021, the year of speaking truth. All right, so coming out of the end of 2020, I felt like in my closest relationships, I was walking on eggshells to not upset the other person. And this was like one of those tough pill to swallow moments where I realized like the common denominator is me. Right? It's so easy, so much easier to make it the other person's fault. But really, if I'm looking at all these relationships I'm walking on eggshells to like not upset the other person, I'm like, the only person in common with all of these different relationships is me. So that is why I was kind of like, I noticed the pattern towards the end of 2020. It got me into some hot water a couple of times in those last couple of months of 2020, where because I had been so quick to people please and shrink and hide myself and kind of shove my truth to the side and like keep the peace in the relationship, I ended up in a couple of situations where I felt taken for granted, and in one even like taken advantage of. And because I had noticed this pattern and connected these dots, I was pretty sick of it. I was like, ready to shift it. I noticed the pattern. I'm interrupting the pattern. I'm ready to shift the thing to a new way of being. And I had kind of at that point, at the end of 2020, I had identified the issue as not speaking up, not speaking my truth, not standing up for myself, like not saying what was real for me. And I took that internalized that understanding of that this is my diagnosis of what's going on here. and set my yearly mantra at the beginning of 2021 as the year of speaking truth. I was ready. I had full permission. I had signed the permission slip. I was going to say my truth no matter what, no matter who upset. Like, I was going to honor myself. And have you ever set out on a journey where you're like totally ready and then almost immediately hit a brick wall where it's not anything like you thought it was going to be? My year of speaking truth was like that, because this is where I first learned that there is a big difference between the outer expression of authenticity, which is what I was trying to play at, and the inner knowing of authenticity, which, as it turned out, as I got into like January, February of 2021 and like into some situations where I was feeling some kind of way, some kind of uncomfortable, and it's year of speaking truth, just like be honest, just say the thing, and I still couldn't. I had full permission to express my authenticity and still couldn't. Eye-opening, because what the hell? Like, what is actually going on here? It seems my root cause analysis was a teensy bit off the mark, which is fine, right? We're in our scientist mode. Isn't that interesting? That I have full-blown permission and still can't do the freaking thing. Okay, so let me re-observe, like, what is actually going on here. And what I found January, February, as I had full permission to express externally, and I still couldn't, I found my way into this inner knowing of my authenticity. And what I figured out was I don't actually know my truth well enough to put it into words. Right. And I shared, I forget exactly which episode this was on, but I shared about my self-awareness journey beginning in 2015, where something very similar also in February, as it happened, February 2015, I sat down to write the email to my future mother-in-law and to explain how the whole conflict in that relationship, like, it's just who I am. Like, I'm not doing these things to upset her. And as I tried to explain who I am to this person that I cared about, I didn't have the words. I didn't understand myself well enough to be able to explain it to her. So that kicked off my self-awareness journey. And here I am, 2021. So what's that, like 6 years later? I find out that, like, actually, I don't know my authentic truth well enough to express it in these emotionally heightened circumstances, which is where I was trying to practice it. So this I credit as being the beginning of my authenticity journey, because this, like I said, it led me into this place of like inner knowing. And that's why in today's episode, we're talking about the inner voice of truth. Okay, and that is not necessarily the outer voice, the external expression. But if you have ambitions of speaking your truth to other people, this right here, the inner voice of truth, is where that starts, is tapping into the inner knowing of it yourself on the inside, accepting that version of yourself. And with all of that work, the outer expression is very natural. And if anything, this concept of the inner knowing, the intuition is another way of saying this inner voice of truth, the intuition, the knowing, the personal truth, this sets us up to be able to handle some things that we've talked about on some of these past episodes, like the fear of rejection. It's like when you know your truth, when you have this inner relationship with your own truth that's solid, on solid ground, it's like this foundation, you realize that, like, when somebody else rejects you, that's them in their journey, having preferences, expressing their own authenticity, and it actually has nothing to do with you and your worth. Right? So like knowing yourself on the inside, having this connection to your own truth, it makes the rejection a lot less threatening. It's like you have your own authentic truth, your own authentic preferences and opinions and the ways that you want to navigate yourself, and so does everybody else. And if somebody else doesn't pick you It's not a personal failure. It's them being authentic. Great. Like no worries. Same, very similar to embracing imperfection, because when we really tune in to that inner voice of truth, it doesn't demand perfection. All right. Like our inner truth is about every single nook and cranny of the beautiful human you are. Not who you'll be after you do 10 years of self-development work, not after you get all the promotions and all the awards and all the houses and all the cars, and like not that version, but who you are today. Your inner truth is actually a very loving voice inside of you. This intuitive voice inside of you is taking into account every bit of who you are right now. And this inner voice of truth is the turn-by-turn GPS of how to get to what it is that truly matters to you. Not society's version of success, but your own internal version of success, the version that matches your core values, the core values of your soul, and the things that actually matter to you. So this is why today we are going to go through 3 different strategies to turn inward and essentially turn up the volume on this inner voice of truth. Because here's the problem, if we can call it that, please see the air quotes, is that fear is really loud. Fear will like scream. Fear is coming out of the amygdala, the back part of your brain that's wired for survival. It's the oldest, most primal part of the brain. And it literally sounds like alarm bells going off in your brain. It's very loud. The inner voice of truth is very quiet. And if we haven't practiced, or when we haven't practiced listening to it and like training our ears on how to listen to it and what to even listen for, it might sound silent. Might sound like I don't even think I have one of these intuitive things that she's talking about. Well, everyone has intuition. These are our instincts, is another way to put it. And like, honestly, fear is kind of connected to that. And like, in a way, our instincts, our intuition, it bypasses this front part of the brain. It's something much deeper. It lives inside of our body. And so when we're listening to the inner voice of truth, you'll see that 2 out of the 3 of these are directly about tuning into the body. And the other one, we're going to talk about how to listen to the body to interpret what it is that we're experiencing in our imagination. So all of this is very much about like kind of getting out of the hamster wheel of the thinking mind and dropping into how does your body feel? Because your body is super intelligent. And when it comes to knowing your authentic truth, knowing your preferences, your inner voice of knowing that supersedes like what you've been taught, it just knows without being taught things. It knows without having evidence or proof or anything like that. Like it just knows. It is certain. There is crystal clear clarity inside your intuitive inner voice of truth. And so that's what we want to tap into, because when it comes to being authentic, we're actively approaching every single limit society has ever set for us and attempting to go beyond it. And at that point, when we step over the line of what is societally acceptable, we are going to be triggering the amygdala. We're going to trigger that fight or flight, fear, yelling, alarm bell response. And our inner truth is still going to be whispering to us. And basically the work is, as we expand our authenticity, the work is to get really good at separating what is the voice of fear, because we're venturing into the unknown, and that's totally normal that fear spikes when we move into the unknown, when we step outside of our comfort zone, when we start to do things differently than we've done them in the past. Fear will spike, period. Like that's just the human condition, all right? Common humanity thread being woven in here. And Your inner voice of truth has a reason for what it's guiding you to do, the lines that it's guiding you to step across. Your inner voice of truth and knowing has good reason for that. The GPS is guiding you there. And so as fear spikes, as this fear voice is yelling and our truth voice is whispering, we're going to learn, we're going to practice getting better and better and better. This is work I still do every day. Get better and better at hearing the distinction and tuning on purpose into the whispering voice and learning how to hold the fear part and soothe the fear part with some pets and some deep breathing and some signaling safety to our body on purpose. And we're going to get into all of that on some other episodes. For today, I'm going to talk about how to hear that inner voice, that whispering, truthful voice that just knows the turn-by-turn directions. There's no second guessing. There's no wondering, like, did I do it wrong? Am I going to mess it up? Like, there's just what's true for you. And the more you listen to that, the more you're merging your right now timeline, the timeline that you're living on, the pathway that's open in front of you based on the way you're living your life right now. The more you listen to that inner voice of truth, you're going to be stepping onto a higher timeline, a more authentic timeline, a pathway that's only open to the authentic you. So we're basically bringing that future self that's living your most authentic life. We are merging the right now you with that future you by listening to this authentic turn-by-turn direction. And it will be scary. That's just the way it is. Authenticity is a little bit frightening / a lot frightening. And that's why I have all of these different ways of like taking the a lot frightening and making it smaller. Like if it's a lot frightening, you need a smaller step, right? Like there's a step that's just a little bit frightening. Let's do that one. And as we do that one, we'll build confidence. And then the next little step will be just a little bit frightening. And so all we ever really have to do is be okay with taking a step that's a little bit scary. And if the step is way too scary, you need a smaller step. So this first strategy is really the core tenet, the core pillar. Like again, if you do none of these other ones, like if you're brand new to this work of tuning into your inner voice of truth, this will be where you kind of want to stay and play for, I don't know, however long it takes to really get comfortable distinguishing between which voice is talking to you. And there's a very easy way to tell. But this first strategy is called mindful body scanning. All right. And that is just a fancy way to say, how does your body feel? All right. So like putting your awareness, putting your attention inside and just feeling into your body, connecting to the physical sensations that your body is currently feeling. Okay. And that might be tightness in your shoulders. That might be my scalp is tingling. That might be, I have a knot in the pit of my stomach. I'm actually like feeling my chest getting tighter and tighter. I have this weird throbbing thing in my knee. You know, so even just take a second, and body awareness is a lot easier with your eyes closed. Like turn off this sensory input machine called your eyeballs. Close your eyes and just to do a full body scan, you can do this as slowly as you want. You can spend an hour taking it like piece by piece by piece, or we can do like 30 seconds of like, just feel your head. You know, often when we close our eyes and we really tune into it, it feels like we, ourself, is inside our head, like behind our face. Like feel where you are inside your head, right? Feel the outside of your head, your scalp, your ears. Move down into your neck. How is it feeling? Feel the outside, the skin of your neck. Feel the inside, more like where your throat is. Move down into your shoulders and your arms. How do they feel? Do you notice any tension, any temperature, any tingling? Come back into the torso and your chest. and your shoulders, and feel the space behind your chest, in front of your shoulders. Maybe you can feel your lungs expanding and contracting. Maybe you can feel your heart beating. Drop a little further down into the top of your stomach and the bottom of your stomach, all the way down to the pelvic floor, the very base of where you're sitting. Just see what you notice. There's no right or wrong answer. We're just tuning in a moment to how is your body feeling. Does it feel relaxed? Does it feel tense? Does it feel restless? No right or wrong. We're just noticing. Go on down into your legs, into your thighs, the fronts of your thighs, the backs of your thighs, on the inside into the muscles, down into the knees and the calves, down into your ankles, your feet, the bottom of your feet, the tops of your feet, down into your toes, your big toes, second toes, third toes, fourth toes, and those adorable little pinky toes. One beautiful side effect of a body scan is that it'll slow and regulate your nervous system without really doing anything fancy. It'll slow you down because, again, we're coming down out of the thinking hamster wheel brain, and we're just being with our body. We're watching what are the physical sensations going on in your body. And once you are able to become aware of the sensations of your body, you have everything you need to be able to do the rest of everything else we're going to talk about with tuning into your inner voice of truth. And if you cannot feel your body, distinguishing fear from truth will be nearly impossible. It is very challenging to do that work without your body's guidance. So that is why the body scan awareness is so powerful. And as we go through finding the sensations, it's important to pay attention to pain and pleasure. Okay, and those are like two extremes on this spectrum of sensation. Like, is it painful? Is it pleasurable? As we move more towards the center of that spectrum, it might just be neutral. Like, there's just a neutral feeling. As we come in from the pain side, there might be something like tension in there somewhere. Like, I feel tense. I feel a tension. I feel a tightening of my muscles. We're just noticing, we're just observing, right? Like, okay, so that's interesting. On the pleasure side, as we come in from the pleasure side, there might be like a melting, like a relaxing sensation that we're able to notice. Like when we put our awareness on our shoulders, maybe they drop. As we put our awareness into our jaw, maybe it relaxes. Maybe we can put our awareness into our temple and it'll relax. And so these sensations, like being able to tell, is it painful or is it pleasurable? Is it making me more tense? Is it making me more relaxed? This is the body's game of hotter, 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 colder, colder, colder. When we are thinking a thought about anything that is making us tense, that is like literally making our muscles tense, that is fear talking. And how do we know this? Because when fear is firing out of the back of the brain, that amygdala is sending out the information that there's a threat. And one of the first things it does is pump adrenaline through your body and tense your muscles so that you can fight or run. So when you feel tension in your body, you are under the influence of your fear brain, period. If a thought makes you tense, that's fear talking. That's who you're listening to in that moment. And on the flip side, if a thought makes you relax, if it melts the tension out of your body, that's your heart talking, right? That's a different brain, the heart brain. The heart brain and the fear brain. Who's talking, right? And there's truth somewhat in both of them. I just want to acknowledge that like the fear brain, it's true that you're scared of something in that moment. That's true. So like somewhat you're still tapping into a version of your truth, and it can be helpful to notice that like, wow, I'm really tense right now. I wonder what I'm scared of. You know, to even just be able to tune into, I'm scared of them rejecting me. I'm scared I'm going to get it wrong. I'm scared of like whatever the fear actually is, because that system is built for predators, right? That automatic hijack that the amygdala will do of your body, of like tense your body, tense your muscles, get you ready to fight or run. That's for like a lion that's like chasing after you, that like you don't have time to think, right? You need to respond to the fear. You need to respond to the truth that there is a predator bearing down on you right now. And like that's helpful. And it's not always true that there's a predator, right? Sometimes we're scared of things that we don't actually need to be scared of. So even just tuning into the sensations of your body. Does it tense? Does it relax? And using that as who's talking right now. And really, your inner voice of truth will relax you. That's ultimately actually its job, is to relax you into following your GPS turn-by-turn instructions into your authentic timeline. It will be relaxing every step along the way. So let's go into the next strategy and really step into this future self timeline. So this is a little bit of a little bit more advanced of a technique. And so again, give it a shot. Why not? And just be in your scientific observer mode of like observing like, wow, like this doesn't seem to be working. Like, isn't that interesting? Okay, cool. At least I know where I'm at. Then maybe you come back a month from now and you do it again, and oh my gosh, like I got so many insights this time. Look at how far I've grown in the last month. How cool is that, right? Like that's all. Just notice where you're at. So the second strategy is called the future self meditation and contemplation. And again, for most impact, I would recommend closing your eyes. However, if you want to do it more as a contemplation and sit with your journal or something like that, like listen to yourself and listen to where you're at and what you're ready for in this moment. I am going to close my eyes as I guide us through this. Just because, again, I find it really relaxing to connect with my future authentic self. And so that is what we're going to be doing in this guided experience. We're going to meet your future authentic self, that version of you that is waiting, that is already living on that future self timeline, that most authentic timeline. They are already living as the totally authentic version of you. And we're going to talk to them. We're going to ask them questions. We're going to get their advice on how to go from where we are right now into where they are already living. And so as we come into this practice, as we close our eyes, if you're doing it that way, and even if you're not, go ahead and take some really deep breaths, maybe the deepest breath you've taken all day. And on this next deep breath, focus on exhaling a little bit longer than you're inhaling. This will really accelerate your relaxation to allow your exhale to be really long. This will bring us down into our body. Notice the relaxation that's already coming over you. The sensations of relaxation might feel like your body is getting lighter. Might even feel like you're floating, or there might be tingles, a change in temperature on your skin. And as we come more into this relaxed, centered, calm place, I want you to imagine your future authentic self. The version of you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, who is living as an expressed, authentic human. Picture, where are they? You know, what's their environment look like? Their surroundings. What are they wearing? What kinds of relationships are in their life? What kind of work do they do? And as you stand back and just observe this future authentic you, notice their energy. How's their mood? What kind of vibe is coming off of this person? This future authentic you. This future authentic you turns and looks right at you and smiles like they've just seen their favorite person in the whole world. They are literally beaming, glowing at you, at who you are right here, right now. This current version of you, they are so happy to see you and connect with you. They are so proud of you for everything that you've done to get to this point where you are now, that has set you up to be ready to hear from them in this moment. They can't wait to talk to you. They tell you, I have so much to say. I have so many things that I want to share with you. But first, do you have any questions for me? It's okay if you don't. But I remember, this future version of you remembers what it was like to sit in this chair right here, right now, wishing for a little bit more clarity, a little bit more inner truth and guidance. And here they are, this version of you that's already lived all the turn-by-turn steps to get to this place of expressed authenticity. And they are willing to answer any question you have. You want advice, you want clarity. You can ask them a yes or a no question. And they have a couple of things that they want to share with you. First of all, they want to let you know how good you're doing. Right here, right now, today, the current version of you, they are so proud of you. They couldn't be where they are without you here in this moment doing this powerful work to become them. They are so grateful for every fear you ever face, every tiny increment of growth that you've already done, that you're going to do, that has allowed them to be who they are. They are literally nothing without you. They are so proud and so grateful. And as they continue smiling at you with a sparkle in their eye, they're so filled with love at this chance of getting to talk to you. They have one more message that they want to share. A message about something that you're facing right now that they've already solved. They already know exactly how you're going to get through it. And they want to give you some insight about how to make this as easy as it can be, as pleasurable and relaxing for you as it can be. Take another deep breath and feel for any other question or message or anything that you want to ask them or share with them. Anything they want to share with you. They'd like to know if they can give you a hug. And again, share this beautiful love and gratitude for who you are and everything that you're doing in your life right now. The day-by-day steps that to you in this moment may feel small, but they know have added up into their life being a dream come true. Take one more deep breath. And remember that this connection with your future self is always here. They are available to you at all times to share insight or clarity or answer questions, to help you step onto your most authentic timeline. They've already done it. And they're more than willing to share anything that you ask. In your own time, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Feel yourself come back into your body, into the now. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I highly encourage you to take a moment and journal about this experience. Write about how it felt, right? And maybe you didn't get a whole lot from your future self, and that's okay. How did your body feel to just take some time and drop in? Maybe you did get some insight from your future self. Take a second, write that down. Make a special note of anything that really resonated with you from that experience, something that felt really good, and anything that was a resistance. Anything that your body or your mind just naturally couldn't go there, was very pushing it away, didn't want. Make a note of it. Like a little scientist, collect your observations. And as far as, especially if you were able to get insight from your most authentic self, from your future authentic self, what are some action steps that come to mind that could walk in that direction of merging these two timelines? What is a step that you could take to step into that future authentic you? And remember, if that step is terrifying, that's not the step for right now. We practice finding the half step. How could you get ready to take that step? And if the half step is still pretty scary, what's a half step of the half step? How could you get ready to take the half step? And maybe at this point, we're starting to find a step that's like, oh yeah, I could actually do that. Outside of my comfort zone, yes, it is, but just a little bit. And if we're not quite there yet, keep looking for the half step of the half step of the half step of the half step of the half step, because that's how your authentic self, that's how future authentic you got where they are, is by taking one little bit more, one little bit more, one little bit more. And one action step, if you're kind of at a loss on what that might be, the third strategy is always an option. And that is why I share with you the whisper walk. Okay, remember, the fear in our bodies and in our minds is shouting like alarm bells, and the truth of our heart is whispering. And so the whisper walk is intentionally using nature and movement to quiet the mind, calm the body, and hear your inner truth. And so possibly your step towards living more authentically is to gain more clarity on what your inner truth even is, in which case this whisper walk is a really great option. And often, either I'll go on a walk and gain some unexpected clarity, or if I'm feeling especially at a loss for clarity, I will intentionally go on a walk to kind of, again, quiet my mind, to put my body into motion, which seems to have some kind of like primitive effect of like unlocking clarity and just kind of letting all the noise fall away. If you think about it, like our ancient ancestors walked for miles and miles and miles every day looking for food, gathering their food, hunting their food. So our bodies are designed to be in motion. So when it comes to unlocking the natural intelligence of our body, it makes a lot of sense that we would need to be in nature, that we would need to be in motion. So it's very simple as far as how to actually do a whisper walk. And really, it has everything to do with overcoming the should, right? Like think about like, well, I should walk really fast so that I can burn calories. That's not necessarily the point of a whisper walk, and actually slowing down and being really mindful of your steps and how your body feels as it takes step after step, as your arms swing, as you know, you can hear the birds in the trees, you can feel the wind across your skin. Like that's really what you're doing on a whisper walk, not going as fast as you can so you can burn all these calories. Another example of like, I should go further, I should walk at least 3 miles. I got to get my cardio in. I got to get my steps in. Like I haven't done enough yet. Like again, not the point. The point of a whisper walk is clarity. So we're slowing down and we're forgetting about the distance because we're tuning inward into our body and allowing the clarity to naturally arise. So you walk until you have it. You walk for, if you walk for 5 minutes and you've got a clear idea, you've got this inspiration that strikes, turn yourself around and come on home. Like the walk worked. And then tomorrow, do it again. The next day, do it again. You forget for a couple months and then you're like really anxious and feeling really tense. Do it again. The whisper walk is there for you anytime, any place. Just move your body until you have a little bit more clarity than you had before you started. So to recap the 3 strategies, number 1, super powerful, body scanning and body awareness. Number 2 was the future self relationship. And I say relationship because this is a connection that can be cultivated over time. So today we maybe establish that connection a little bit deeper, or maybe even for the first time, maybe first time you've ever done anything like that. We can continue to journal with our future self, think about our future self, pull those 2 timelines together and consider, what would my future self do in this situation? What would my most authentic self do in this situation? And really, this is just all about getting more in touch with that inner voice of truth, turning the volume up on it by granting yourself all the permissions you need to be the real, most authentic you. And that isn't necessarily yet about expressing it externally, but just tapping into it and getting clear on what it is on the inside. So this is like a compass. This is like a GPS with turn-by-turn instructions for every situation you ever face, every decision, every obstacle, every moment of your life. Your inner voice of truth has the answer. That inner wisdom is always with you. And so figuring out how to tune into that is not only super valuable in authentic living, but in making decisions easier, in making relationships smoother, all on and on and on, living your dreams. That inner GPS can guide you towards a whole lot of valuable things. So I would absolutely recognize, this week, how could you 5% more be tuning into if your body is feeling tense or distressed, or if your body is feeling relaxed and open and light and free, and just even being more in touch with how your body feels moment to moment will naturally turn up the volume on this inner voice of truth. You'll naturally be clarifying the difference between, am I listening to fear or am I listening to my inner voice of truth, my heart, my intuition? Thank you so much for joining me for this really powerful episode. I would love to hear your insights either in the comments or tag me on social media, #AuthenticSelfRevolution. And if you're ready to step even further into clarifying your inner voice of truth and get some personal guidance on how to kind of unravel that puzzle inside of you, I would highly encourage you to book the authenticity activation session. This is a one-on-one call with me over Zoom where we can dive into what it is that you really want. What is your authentic self living, and how can we bridge that gap? How can we bring the authentic you a little bit more into the right now? We'll also get into what are the obstacles keeping you stuck, what are those limiting beliefs, etc. And we can even get into what are your unique gifts and that authentic you, what are they living? What magic have they tapped into within themselves? And again, how can we bring that a little bit more into your now? So that is open to you at any time. Whenever you are ready, you can visit owningauthenticity.com/activate to book your call. We will absolutely make that happen. And stay tuned for the next episode where we are going to dive into the world of self-suppression. Again, we're going to get down deeper into our bodies, into the real us, and find where you may be holding hostage a bit of your authentic self. Got them gag-tied, hog-tied, in a closet somewhere, locked in a basement cellar. Dude, I'm still releasing the hostages of my real self to this day, unlocking the little bits and bobs of my self-suppression. So in the next episode, we're going to dive into all the different ways that you can recognize where you may be suppressing, shoving down a piece of the real you. So until next time, I do hope that you will take such good care of who you really are. And so will I.